Do you struggle being musical and melodic with your solos? Do you want to stop sounding so scalar and trapped in a box on the fretboard? You don't have to be a master of arpeggios to sound great. You can do it with two of the easiest patterns on the guitar. By the end of today's video, you absolutely will be able to use these two patterns to create more interesting phrasing ideas for your solos. By the way, if you're just getting started with soloing, make sure to download my free Beginner Soloist Handbook. It's full of arpeggios and scales and resources all packed into one place so that you can use it as a reference. The link is down in the description. What tends to be one of the most trapped sounds that guitarists end up playing? It's the standard minor pentatonic box that looks like this. Now there's nothing wrong with that box shape, but it's just been used to death, so a lot of the phrasing that you hear and you try to create ends up sounding the same. But it also keeps players in the same area on the neck, so what players end up doing is learning all 5 shapes of the minor pentatonic in an attempt to broaden their horizons. Now there's nothing wrong with those shapes either, but we want a fresh look. We want a way that we can traverse the fretboard in a more musical way. So what we're covering today are the diagonal pentatonics, major and minor. Diagonal shapes are clearly the way to break out of a rut and start sounding musical again. Let's first take a look at the minor diagonal pentatonic. The minor pentatonic scale is made up of the 1, 3, 4, 5, and 7 of the minor scale. So it's 5 of those 7 notes. But we don't have to play it this way right here. What we're going to do is we're going to drop a whole step behind the root and play 2 notes. So we're going to begin on the 3rd fret of your E string here, which the note is G. We're going to play 2 notes, G and A. Then we move to the 5th string, right below on the 3rd fret here. We're going to play 3rd fret, 5th fret, and 7th fret. And the notes in this case are C, D, and E. But we're not so concerned about the notes just yet. We're concerned about this pattern. And the pattern is 2 notes, followed by 3 notes. And I like to slide up to that note. That's it. That's the 5 notes of the minor pentatonic. Then we simply repeat octaves thereof. So the next octave is going to begin right below where we started here. So here is the 5th fret of the 4th string, up to the 7th. That's our 2 notes. And then we repeat the 3 notes on the 3rd string. So far we have this. Now we have to adjust for the tuning difference and move up a fret as opposed to being right below it. We have to move up a fret to make up for that tuning difference. And we play the 2 notes, followed by the 3 notes. All together. So that's 3 octaves of the diagonal minor pentatonic. And it's simply that pattern of 2 notes followed by 3. So the way you would improvise with it is you wouldn't necessarily play all 3 octaves at once. I don't want you to do that. I want you to just focus maybe on the middle one here. Let's just use that one, and I'll use it to improvise over a track. Alright, now what we're going to do is play the exact opposite of what we just did with the minor pentatonic. We're going to do the major pentatonic now. And what I mean by opposite is now the pattern, instead of 2 notes followed by 3 notes, is going to be 3 notes followed by 2 notes. Let's play it on C, and it looks like this. 3 notes starting on C. So this one we actually do begin right on the root. You don't go a whole step behind it. We begin right on the root, play a whole step up, and another whole step. That's our 3 notes, and then we go to the 5th string and we play our 2 notes. One more time. Then we move to the 4th string to play our octave. We're going to play 3 notes, followed by 2. Then we adjust for the tuning difference on the B string, and we play our pattern of 3 notes, followed by 2 notes. Here's the whole thing. Now in this instance, the major pentatonic is the 1, 2, 3, 5, and 6 of the major scale. So it's left out a couple of notes as well. You can make a pentatonic scale out of anything, but in this case, this is a regular major pentatonic, and we're just going to play it over top of a C major backing track. As you can see, that's really easy to memorize and easy to use. And in my experience, it's just easier to play that shape and be more musical with it than it is to memorize some of the other of the 5 traditional pentatonic shapes that we know. Diagonal pentatonic shapes are really the ones that help you kind of use the other things that you're working on, bending and slides and things like that, and go up and down the neck a little bit easier. Now obviously the major pentatonic can be used over traditional major keys, but if you end up wanting to use it over something like blues where you've got dominant 7th chords going around like this, like a 1 chord in A, and then the 4 chord in A blues would be what? D7, and then the 5 chord would be E7. You have to be careful there because if you play the A major pentatonic on the A, you're good. But once you switch to that dominant 7th on the D, you've got this note right here, which is a C natural. And you can't be playing a C sharp from the minor, from the major pentatonic over that chord right there. Not going to work. You're going to have this note right there, the C sharp, fighting with the C natural. So what some players will do, they'll end up playing A major over the A7, and then they'll just switch to D major right here over the D7. Or maybe an easier solution for you would probably be to just switch to the minor pentatonic at that point. So if you're playing major blues over the A7, and then when the D7 rolls around, the 4 chord in a blues progression, you can switch to the A minor pentatonic. And it doesn't have to be that shape, it could be one of the diagonal shapes. But that's an easy way to toggle back and forth. Now you're okay over the 5 chord. You can still use the major pentatonic over that. And the reason you would want to use the major pentatonic is if you want to create that mood of something that's bright and cheery. The minor pentatonic, of course, creates a little bit more tension, and people like that in blues. So I think probably the majority of blues that we end up hearing has that sort of minor pentatonic tension in there. But if you want to use the major, it definitely has a different sound. So why even bother using these 2 simple patterns if you already know the other pentatonic shapes? For me, there are 2 big reasons. Number 1, it helps me be a little more musical with my note choices. I'm able to move across the neck diagonally a little bit better, and I end up phrasing completely different than with traditional pentatonics. Number 2, it helps me limit myself and stay in one area, and that way I can focus on those notes and listen to the track better instead of going up and down a huge scale shape. I tend to stay in one area for a while and work on those notes. It's called limitation, and I actually did an entire video on that. If you want to check that out right here, you can watch that next, and it will make you more musical. It will make you think about your phrasing much more.